Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jordi Yanoshik, and I'm the Learning Specialist for Students with Disabilities at the Weingarten Center at the University of Pennsylvania. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects nearly every college student, but especially students with ADHD: time management. Now, when people hear the phrase time management, they often think about planners, calendars, or something like productivity apps. But for many individuals with ADHD, the challenge goes much deeper than simply being organized. The reality is that many students know exactly what they should be doing. They know assignments should be started early. They know deadlines matter. They know they should review notes after class. Yet, despite understanding all of this, they still find themselves waiting until the last minute. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. Today, we're going to explore why this happens and discuss practical strategies that can help make time more visible, manageable, and supportive. I'd like to begin with a quote inspired by ADHD researcher Dr. Russell Barkley. He has often said that ADHD is not primarily a disorder of knowing what to do. Instead, it's a disorder of doing what you know at the right time and in the right place. Let's think about that for a moment. Most students with ADHD aren't lacking information. They know when assignments are due. They understand the consequences of procrastination. They recognize the benefits of planning ahead. The challenge is translating that knowledge into action before the pressure becomes overwhelming. Many students will tell me things like, I knew about the assignment for weeks. I kept meaning to start. I don't understand why I waited. These experiences aren't signs of laziness or a lack of intelligence. They're often connected to how ADHD affects time awareness and self regulation. A common phrase is, I didn't feel the urgency until the deadline was right in front of me. And that's exactly what we're discussing today. Let's talk about what I call too much present. Life constantly competes for our attention. There are assignments, texts, emails, social activities, chores, work obligations, and just other countless distractions. Some tasks are exciting, some are boring, some are stressful, some offer immediate rewards. ADHD makes it hard to balance all these competing demands. Research suggests that individuals with ADHD are often more strongly influenced by what's happening right now rather than what might happen later. Imagine sitting down to write a paper. At that exact moment, your brain may be comparing the paper to checking social media, watching videos, talking with friends, or simply doing anything else that's more enjoyable. The immediate reward frequently ends up winning, and it's not because the paper isn't important. It's because the present moment feels louder and more compelling than future consequences. Creating enough mental space to pause, reflect, and intentionally choose the next steps can be significantly more difficult. External distractions also become harder to ignore, which makes prioritization really challenging. On the other side of the equation, we have not enough future. For many individuals with ADHD, future rewards and consequences simply don't feel real enough in the present moment. Let's say a paper is due Friday. On Monday, that deadline may seem far away. Intellectually, you understand it's coming. Emotionally and motivationally, however, it might not feel urgent. As a result, getting started can be difficult. This is one of the reasons many college students with ADHD rely on last minute pressure. As the deadline gets closer, urgency increases, stress increases, adrenaline increases. Suddenly, motivation appears. The problem is that this strategy often comes with anxiety, lost sleep, rush work, and burnout. Consider a student who knows it's helpful to review notes after every class. They understand the value. They agree with the strategy. But week after week, they don't consistently do it. Similarly, they know starting a paper early would reduce stress, yet they begin the night before. The issue isn't knowledge. The issue is follow through. Understanding this distinction is important because it shifts the conversation away from blame and towards building systems that support action. Let's take a little closer look at how ADHD affects time awareness. Many people with ADHD struggle with things such as knowing what is due and when, estimating how long tasks take, tracking how long they've been working, recognizing when it's time to stop one activity and begin another. This collection of challenges is sometimes described as a difficulty with time blindness. When time isn't consistently visible, it becomes much harder to plan effectively. You might underestimate a task and discover it takes twice as long as expected. You might intend to spend 15 minutes scrolling through your phone and suddenly realize an hour has passed. Or maybe you become deeply focused on one task and completely lose track of another important responsibility. The good news is that these challenges are manageable. We don't have to rely entirely on internal awareness. We can use external supports to make time more visible and easier to navigate. That's where the strategies and the rest of this presentation come in. So one of the simplest and most effective tools is also one of the oldest, clocks. Many students underestimate how helpful visible clocks can be. I encourage students to place clocks throughout their living and study spaces. Digital clocks are particularly useful because they show the exact time in a clear format. The goal here isn't just to know what time it is. The goal is to develop a habit of checking and reflecting. Whenever you look at a clock, ask yourself, should I still be doing this? Is it time to start something else? Am I spending my time the way I intended? These questions create a brief moment of self-awareness. Over time, this habit strengthens your ability to make intentional decisions rather than simply reacting to whatever is happening around you. Success often begins with awareness. So before we can manage time effectively, we have to notice it. Another important strategy is building a consistent scheduling system. Many students will try to manage their lives from memory. Unfortunately, ADHD often makes that approach unreliable. If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing right now, it's easy to drift toward whatever seems easiest or most interesting. That is why calendars are so powerful. Whether you prefer a digital calendar, paper planner, or if you use a scheduling app, the best system is always going to be one that you'll actually use because the key is regular engagement. A calendar only works if you look at it. I also recommend setting reminders and alarms for important events and tasks. At the same time, consider reducing unnecessary notifications. Think about these ones from apps that you downloaded for a store you went 2 years ago and have not been in since. You don't need those notifications. You can turn those off. When every notification is treated as equally important, truly important reminders end up losing their impact. Having a schedule creates structure, and structure helps reduce uncertainty. So now let's move on to another common thing I see, problems with traditional to-do lists. To-do lists are great for telling us what to do, but they don't tell us when to do it. As a result, students often end up staring at long lists of unfinished tasks and just feeling overwhelmed. Instead of writing "write paper" on a to-do list, try scheduling a specific block of time. For example, it could look like this. Work on paper introduction from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. This is a small change, but it has a big impact. You've already made the decision about when you'll work. You don't have to keep negotiating with yourself throughout the day. This reduces decision fatigue. It also makes it easier to stay focused because you have a clear plan for the current moment. Time blocking transforms vague intentions into specific commitments. Time blocking provides another important benefit. It helps prevent overcommitment. Many students assume they can fit more into a day than is realistically possible. When tasks remain on a to-do list, they can feel abstract and unlimited. But when you place those tasks into actual time slots, reality becomes clearer. You begin to see how much time is available and how quickly it fills up. This visual representation helps create realistic expectations. It also makes it easier to identify when you're taking on too much. And if plans change, which they often do, you can simply move a task from one time slot to another. A schedule is not meant to be a rigid contract. It's more like a flexible roadmap, and its purpose is to provide guidance, not perfection. Another thing that I recommend is setting yourself up for a smoother morning. Mornings can be especially difficult for people with ADHD. There's a lot of transitions happening in a short amount of time. A strategy that I recommend is to post reminders in locations you'll naturally see. For example, a reminder in the bathroom to take your medication, a reminder near your bedroom door to grab your charger, a reminder in the kitchen to grab a banana or something on your way out. I use Post-it notes. They've been very effective. These visual clues can help reduce the mental effort required to remember what you need to do or what comes next. Visible clocks, also in each room, extremely helpful. This way, instead of relying on a single clock or your phone, you're continuously receiving time information throughout your environment. The goal is to make important information more difficult to miss. The easier you make it to notice time, the easier it becomes for you to stay on track. One of the most common planning mistakes is forgetting transition time. Students often schedule only the activity itself. For example, class starts at 10, meeting starts at 2, study session at 6. But what about the time required to get ready, gather materials, travel, mentally switch tasks? These transitions matter. When creating a schedule, build in buffers, include travel time, include preparation time, include setup time, and consider setting alarms for when preparations should begin, not just when the event starts. This approach reduces rushing and creates a more realistic picture of how your day actually unfolds. A powerful habit that only takes a few minutes is a daily planning check-in. Each morning, spend 2 to 3 minutes answering 3 questions. What are my top priorities today? When will I work on them? What absolutely needs to get done? This brief planning session can dramatically reduce decision fatigue later in the day. Instead of constantly asking yourself what you should be doing next, you've already created a roadmap. You don't need a complicated system. You don't need an hour-long planning ritual. Just a few minutes of intentional thinking can create clarity and direction for the rest of your day. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize one final idea. Progress, not perfection. Building structure into your day is a skill. Like any skill, it improves with practice. You don't have to implement every strategy immediately. Choose 1 or 2 ideas that resonate with you. Experiment, adjust, learn what works for your unique needs. There will be days where your schedule goes perfectly. There's also going to be days where it falls apart. Both experiences are totally normal. The goal is not flawless execution. The goal is creating systems that make success more likely over time. Remember, needing structure is not a weakness. It's simply a strategy. And for many people with ADHD, the right structure can make all the difference. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope these strategies help you think differently about time management and provide practical tools you can begin to use immediately. If you'd like individualized support, have questions about ADHD and learning strategies, or want help developing a system that works for you, I encourage you to make an appointment with us here at the Weingarten Center. We're here to help you build skills, reduce stress, and succeed academically. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you'll join us for part 2, where we'll focus on staying on track and following through once you've created a plan. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.